being a new seller on Amazon, there's a lot of new information that comes at you, and you have to start to understand and wrap your head around everything. You have to get how you're supposed to actually list products, how you're supposed to actually sell on Amazon, how you're supposed to advertise, how you're supposed to have brand registry. You have to get the minute details of a business down, and one of the major areas people, I think, are constantly skipping over is taxes. You don't always understand how taxes really play in the Amazon ecosystem. What are you actually supposed to do as a seller when it comes to taxes, and who's responsible for everything? So we're going to be breaking down everything to do with taxes on Amazon, sales taxes specifically, where you're supposed to be going and to get all this information, what exactly you're going to be missing out on if you're not. So first, to start us off here, I wanted us to dive into Amazon themselves, what is called a marketplace facilitator. So a marketplace facilitator is exactly what Amazon is Amazon, eBay, Walmart, anyone like that, a marketplace online where you can actually sell and list all of your goods for sale. Marketplace facilitators are the ones that are actually supposed to be collecting the taxes. This is because it makes it a lot easier on their end if they collect the sales tax and they are not liable in any way, since they are technically the middleman for the sale that happened there. On top of that, we also have this term, which is marketplace tax collection. Now, what is marketplace tax collection? Well, it's essentially a service or a software that helps with any type of tax laws, any taxes that you're supposed to submit, anything in between for sellers in specific states, countries, etc. You can look at different softwares such as HelloTax or Avalara as a marketplace tax collection software, and then a marketplace facilitator like Amazon. Now, understanding the difference between those two is very crucial. The reason being is that just because sales tax is one of those areas that Amazon handles the majority of the time, which they do, does not mean that you don't have to also have another system in place. So if you are selling off Amazon, such as Shopify, where it is not going to be a marketplace facilitator, then you are going to have to still be responsible for a lot of those things. So understanding those two key definitions is where we first start off. Now, past that as well is getting the idea of, from a seller, what should you have in tax compliance, right? There's a lot of different documentations that you can start to understand and get on a certain level. So first and foremost, we'll talk about the most common one, which is a 1099K. Now, a 1099K is not something that you are putting together. You are actually, as a seller, going to get. In fact, it's something that you can get from Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and we go on over to our reports section, we have this special little place called Tax Document Library. Tax Document Library is where essentially you can find everything to do with your Amazon taxes. It is Amazon's responsibility to calculate your sales tax. It is their responsibility to report what sales tax was collected on your behalf as a marketplace facilitator of Amazon, and then also report that to you so that you at the end of the day can go to your accountant or the IRS and say, hey, here is what was collected from all of my sales that were done on Amazon. Now, on top of that, we also have seller fee taxes. Seller fee taxes is obviously exactly as it sounds, taxes that are taken off of the seller fees. So that is where Amazon will send an invoice to actually give to you if you have any seller fees. If you sell on Amazon, you have a seller fee, therefore you've paid taxes on it, and you will get an invoice for this. Past that, this is exactly where I would go as a new seller. At the end of the year, you are trying to get all of your taxes together. You are getting everything for your accountant. This is where you need to come to get your 1099K. You can see this is the only place you're going to get it. This is the only purpose for this entire section. Now, understanding a 1099K is going to be different from any other type of tax form. This is specifically for, again, everything that goes on Amazon. Amazon is only also going to give you a 1099K in a few specific circumstances. One of the primary ones being if you sold over $20,000 on the Amazon platform. That is when Amazon has to then give you a 1099K and say, hey, this person sold X amount of dollars. If you sell anything under that, it is no longer Amazon's responsibility to report that information to you. So as a seller, you have to still be responsible for your own accounting, your own taxes in that regard. Now, the thing that Amazon does not cover is any business taxes whatsoever. So That means that Amazon is required to collect those sales taxes as a marketplace facilitator. They will handle the disbursement of those taxes. However, you as a business are still liable for your own taxes. So just because Amazon's handling the sales tax doesn't mean they're handling yours. So that means that as a business, you need to still report all income received in the proper way and that you should. So if you are a seller in, let's say, Texas, you have to then still report any income for the state of Texas from your business. So these are the type of things that a lot of newer sellers aren't going to fully understand. Past all of this as well, if you are going to be reporting in a certain state, such as Texas, there is one thing that you should know, and that is your state tax registration number. This is something that you should be able to get directly from your state tax website. So it's something you can sign up for very easily. You can get it. And the reason that Amazon is going to want this is just from a non-marketplace tax collection standpoint. So that essentially means anything that is non-marketplace related, you're going to need a state tax registration number to understand and go from that. So after you have your tax registration number, after you get your 1099K, after you do all of that, what's next? What do you do past that point? Well, obviously it comes down to actually filing your taxes, understanding what you need to file, and dealing with anything to do with that. And what I'm typically going to recommend 9 times out of 10, especially because I myself am not an accountant and I do not advise any of this as any form of actual accounting advice. I am going to instead give the advice of signing up for a tax calculation service. Again, this is where a tax collection, tax calculation service is going to be very crucial. We, as sellers on Amazon, are not accountants majority of the time. Sure, there's plenty of them out there, but it is one of those areas where new sellers, especially as a small business, it can be a huge hassle to try and get up and running and try and have a lot of fees, and you're usually not able to spend on extraneous things. This is an area where I would spend. As a new seller, I would very, very much say, hey, I am not going to be able to do my own taxes. I should get someone who actually knows tax code. And again, this is where I would recommend services. There are plenty of them out there. Avalara is a great one. But you need to understand that filing for any and all taxes and understanding Nexus and the different terminology of different state taxes in different places is not something that the average person typically understands. And so therefore, my recommendation 9 times out of 10, as you know, again, I am no accountant, and this is, you know, not advice from an accountant for actual tax advice, but rather an explanation of what you should do. Go and get an accountant. This is going to help you along the way for a variety of reasons. You're going to understand a little bit more from the actual filing standpoint of what you need to file, if there is anything when it comes to, let's say, what you are not or exempt from having to pay, anything that you can get reimbursements for. So things such as cost of goods, that is considered a business expense, right? So if you have a full cost of goods, you can definitely have that be at part of a write-off. Anything in between that you're looking for from a tax perspective. Now, the big area, again, to understand when it comes to Amazon is way that Amazon collects. So Amazon collects the sales tax for you. You are not required to report any sales tax. And if you are within the state that you are in your jurisdiction, having to report something, you can still report 0 from the standpoint that you are not collecting that sales tax. Amazon is collecting it. Now, finally, the last thing that I would say is that there is one area that everyone should go when they are trying to understand anything having to do with how much money they have to spend or how much money they have to pay, anything like that, and that would be to go to your payments section and your reports repository. So you can get here by going over to your menu, going to payments, and then going to payments or report repository. The reason I would say this is because this is where you are going to get essentially a summary and a transactionary report for your year over year. Your year over year is going to give you everything you need to understand for how much money you made on Amazon, all of the different fees that you incurred while on Amazon, any advertising expenses, which you can also get here from an advertising invoice history, all of your disbursements under a disbursement tab, but everything should be under the reports repository. And what this is going to do is that this is going to give you a very easy place to go to get all of your tax information all at once, to be able to handle and hand over to an accountant like talked about previously. So without further ado, the biggest thing, again, that every new seller should understand is that Amazon has a lot more layers than just selling and putting a product online. You need to understand every aspect of it, including the actual off Amazon aspects like taxes and how it's actually collected. And I'm hoping that this shed a little bit more light as a new seller, experienced seller, whoever you might be, as to how that actually works on the platform. Again, the big things to really cover here: always get an accountant. I'm going to recommend that 9 times out of 10. Always make sure that you check your 1099K at the end of the year. You should be doing your own calculations for what it should be, as Amazon is a Goliath of a company. They make mistakes sometimes. It's not always going to be 100% correct. Make sure if they do not have it correct, you reach out to seller support. And then lastly, make sure to get all your reports and make sure to do your own accounting at the end of the day, and you should be good to go. Hoping this entire thing helps. I'm hoping that you have better time selling on Amazon because of it.